The Independent Commission for Infrastructure, or ICI, is still waiting for guidance from Malacanang regarding its future operations.
A recent survey shows media is the most trusted institution to address corruption in flood control projects.
The Health Department logs more than 63 superflu cases across the country.
The International Criminal Court, or ICC, has denied former President Rodrigo Duterte's bid to appeal a ruling on communications between the court's registry and medical experts.
First in the news, uncertainty continues to surround the Independent Commission for Infrastructure, or ICI. A senior advisor says the panel is still operating but has yet to receive any signals from Malacanang. Here's the report.
The fate of the ICI, or Independent Commission for Infrastructure, still hangs in the balance. That's according to the fact-finding panel special advisor Rodolfo Azurin Jr. in an interview with Storycon. The former PNP chief said they have yet to hear from Malacanang if resigned commissioners Rogelio Singson and Rosana Fajardo will be replaced soon. The remaining members are also ready in the event the ICI is dissolved by February, as some lawmakers predicted.
So far, tuloy pa rin naman po yung mga ginagawa natin pag-imbestiga dun sa mga ibang mga flood control projects at mga infrastructures. I suggested nga po kay chairman namin na I think we need to write the Office of the President and ask them if they already have a replacement po sa mga commissioners namin. In the event po na they deem it na ganun nga po ang i-terminate na nila o i-abolish ang ICI because they feel na parang may duplication po ng function, wala po tayong magagawa.
General Azurin also confirmed that Batangas 1st District Representative Leandro Leviste submitted documents to the ICI. Azurin did not directly say if these were the same files the lawmakers supposedly got from the late former Public Works Undersecretary Maria Catalina Cabral.
The file that is being mentioned po by Congressman Leviste, ipinakita po niya yan sa aming mga commissioners during his visit. And then I think it's already with our legal po. So legal na ho ang tumitingin kung ano ho ba yung veracity ng mga files na ipinakita po ni Congressman Leviste.
A recent Pulse Asia survey shows media as the most trusted institution to address corruption in flood control projects. 54% of the respondents say they trust the media, while 47% trust civil society and non-government organizations. The Senate and the House are trusted by 37% and 31% of adult Filipinos, respectively, when it comes to the infrastructure probe. The Office of the Ombudsman, the Independent Commission for Infrastructure, and the DPWH got the least total big trust ratings in managing the scandal. Meanwhile, confidence in the administration remains low as only 30% of Filipinos said they trust President Bongbong Marcos to address flood control corruption. A whopping 48% expressed low to no trust and 22% were undecided. This is slightly unchanged from the same survey findings on September 20 to 25, where 32% of Filipinos expressed trust in the current government to deal with the issue. Now joining us to help interpret the latest survey is Dr. Ronald Holmes, President of Pulse Asia Research. Good morning, Doctor. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Angelo. Good morning, Angela.
All right, of course, can you tell us more about the survey? The survey shows that Filipinos trust the media more than the government. Ano po bang ibig sabihin nito?
Well, ang ibig sabihin nito basically is that you had a number of agencies and institutions, organizations that we asked whether Filipinos think that they will be assisting in terms of addressing the problem of corruption in flood control projects. The government institutions the general sentiment will be towards indecision. That's for the Senate, the House of Representatives, the Ombudsman, the ICI. The Department of Public Works people are more distrusting, majority, 59% distrust. The media, a slight majority trust media. That means information coming from media, it's deemed as helpful by the public in addressing corruption in flood control projects. Of course, this is just a slight majority, 54%. And civil society is also thought to be, if you go from September to December, also something that positively contributes, no, to the addressing the problem of corruption. So dalawa lang agency, and both of them are not part of government. The ones in government, you have a president that's largely distrusted in terms
Yeah.
of his capability. And you have the Department of Public Works also that has to really work harder in terms of regaining public trust.
That's right. Pero Doc, well, given na kasi Doc yung DPWH, no, kasi doon naman nanggaling karamihan yung mga scandal. Pero what's interesting to note, yung findings nyo sa ICI, no, it's even lower than the President's yung mga trust ratings regarding the issue. Is this due because sa kabagalan ng pag-process ng mga findings, or it's just that merely kasi halos walang ngipin ang agency? Ano ba ang nasasabi sa survey nyo?
Well, yung pangalawa sinabi mo, no, Angelo, which is really that walang ngipin. At hindi tayo nagsabi niyan. Ang nagsabi niya mismo ay yung dating miyembro ng ICI,
Yes.
dating kalihim ng Department of Public Works and Highway. Siya mismo sa kanyang pagbibitiw na sabi niya na, walang budget at walang kapangyarihan na pilitin yung kanilang mga hinikayat na dumalo sa kanyang pagpupulong. So that's one. Pero yung ICI rito, pati na natin, mas marami ang hindi masabi kung nagtitiwala sila o hindi sila nagtitiwala. So dumami yung bilang na ito. So basically, nananatili siyang mayorya. At tumami yung hindi nagtitiwala dahil nga nagbitiw yung isa.
Yes, oo.
Maliban dyan, nangako silang ila-live stream yung kanilang proceeding, pero pilim-pili lang yung kanilang na-live stream. No? Merong ilang mga proceeding na dapat na i-live stream, pero humiling yung mga mambabatas na wag at hindi nila ini-live stream. So parang bakit ganon? Bakit selective yung live streaming?
Yung gusto ko lang rin puntahan, Doc, yung kay President Marcos, no? Ano yung early findings nyo about how he deals with the issue? Mataas rin ba or mababa na from the start? Kasi karamihan nagsasabi, even if he's trying his best, he's still a Marcos, which is tied to the brand of his father. So parang hindi daw bagay na siya ang maging fighter against corruption.
Well, siya ang nag-expose nito. Pero ibig sabihin nito, pagkatapos siya expose, ay dapat hinahayaan na niya yung mga ahensya, lalong particular na yung ombudsman, although kakaluklok lang talaga ng ombudsman, no? Kaya hindi natin inaasahan na tataas yung pagtitiwala, maaaring magbago yan sa madarating na buwan. Dapat ay parang he will not in any way be involved, and he should not in any way derail any of the processes. So one is that he should not be actively involved. He has given priority to the passage of the bill that calls for the creation of an independent commission with more powers. Let Congress decide that one. Congress will resume its session. And he should not derail the process. No? He should actually make sure that no one remains untouchable, and he should not in any way extend protection to anyone for that matter.
Right.
So is it like saying, Doc, yung sumbong sa Pangulo website, dapat wala nang ganon? Basta pag-create ng ICI, let go na siya, tumihimik na si Pangulo.
Well, pwede pa rin niyang i-maintain yan, pwede pa rin niyang, pero ang eventually, ang magde-decide na kung dapat kasuhan yan ay yung ombudsman, no? Or the Department of Justice for that matter. But I think it really would be also the steps taken by the Department of Justice and the ombudsman, whether these are found to be resolute by the public. If there are no charges filed against a big fish, then that will definitely affect not only the department's ratings, but also the president, because those who are closely associated with him, if they're given a reprieve from any of the charges, it can be assumed as a way for the president to protect his closest allies or
Right.
closest associates.
Well, to add to what we have been talking about, what is notable here, Doc, no, is yung public trust and the ability of the ICI to address scandal, it's at 18%. While public indecision on whether or not to trust the ICI in dealing with the problem is at its highest at 51%. So why do you think so po?
Yun nga, because the ICI has been less than transparent.
Yeah.
The
Tapos-
ICI, at the time that we conducted the survey, would be down to 2 members.
Yes.
The ICI has, well, basically the ICI has not shown any clear indication of what its results would be. Because you've had more steps taken by the DPWH recommending the filing of charges against its own officials. You have steps taken by the Department of Justice. In that sense, the ICI, relative to those agencies, after they pale in comparison. No? So parang hindi pa nakikita yung resulta eh. Although, I mean, in fairness to them, basically, saddled sila ng wala naman silang budget, so wala silang masyadong tao, wala silang kapangyarihan, so hindi nila pwedeng pelsehin yung mga taong kanilang pinapatawag na talagang pumunta sa ICI. Pag hindi pumunta yan, hindi nila malalaman kung anong katotohanan, hindi nila malalaman yung sagot nila, at hindi nila malalaman kung dapat panugutin yung individual na yan.
Okay, yun din kasi yung tinitignan din natin dito, Doc, ano, yung percentage naman dun sa Office of the Ombudsman. It's 28%, lower than 39% from the previous survey. So, bumababa siya because I think until now, sabi nga nila, wala pang big fish. At yung sinasabi nating big fish like si Zaldico and other involved, ay wala pa rin, hindi pa rin sila na-aresto. Kaya po gano'n na lang yung pagbaba, I guess, ng ombudsman. Tama po?
Bumaba siya, yung trust, pero lumipat na hati no, sa indecision at saka distrust. So, ibig sabihin, naghihintay yung tao. Ano ba pwede gawin ng ombudsman? Ang ombudsman, nagpaliwanag naman siya, no?
Yeah.
Hindi mo pwede madali niyang kaso na yan. Kinakailangan
process,
pag-aralan niya mabuti kasi yung certainty of conviction ang kanilang pamantayan sa paghaharap ng kaso sa sino mang individual. Hindi lang yung probable cause, kundi certainty of conviction. Kaya maaaring may katagalan. Ang problema ay naghayag ang Pangulo na sa pagdating ng kalagkaitnaan ng Disyembre, meron mga individual na makukulong na at hindi makakasama ang kanilang pamilya sa pagdiriwang ng Pasko. So, that deadline, the statement that there's a deadline was basically ill-advised for that matter. And people may think that this is also within the purview of the Ombudsman. Although, of course, the Ombudsman is a constitutional agency independent of the President. So, I think the Ombudsman is still in the right place. No? If people are undecided as to whether it is trustworthy or not, the Ombudsman can show the results in the next few months prior to the quarterly survey that we're conducting coming in this quarter. And let's see. Let's wait and see. I think the attitude towards the Ombudsman is really indecision until it shows proof that it's resolved to really go after anyone and everyone, regardless of their closeness with the President, regardless of their political affiliation. Would
Doc,
really come into full fruition.
Yung looking at the numbers also, Doc, no, yung sa Senate na medyo mataas siya ng konti, specifically, is this because also of, Senator Ping Lacson is known to be a good scrutinizer and investigator in the Blue Ribbon Committee?
Well, sa Senate, medyo mas makataasan kasi nagpapatuloy yung Senate Blue Ribbon Committee, although natigil siya dahil sa deliberation ng budget. No? So, let's see, because the Senate and the lower house, the House of Representatives, will resume their session before the end of the month. And I think the Senate Blue Ribbon will resume its investigations by next week.
19.
Hopefully, the confidence that the Senate can address this problem of corruption will go back to, will go to a majority, no? Given that we know what the record of the chair of the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee is, Senate President Pro Tempore Ping Lacson.
Okay, so I think, kasi sabi niyo po, when the survey was conducted, dalawa ang natitira na lang sa ICI. Pero right now, that there are statements na ICI must be in limbo, tas nag-iisa na lang yung commissioner nila, there is a possibility na lalong mag-decrease, yung approval rating or trust rating ng ICI unless the President tells us kung ano yung magiging plano niya dito sa komisyon na ito.
Unless the ang presidente nilagyan na ng priority yung pagpasa ng bagong batas tungkol sa Independent Commission Against Infrastructure Corruption, di ba?
Yeah.
May proposed laws, bills in Congress, both the lower house and the upper house on this one. Prioritize ng presidente yan. Sana mapasa ng Kongreso kagad yan. So mawawala na yung dahilan kung bakit kailangan ng ICI, mabubuo ang tunay na independent commission na may kakayanan na mag-issue ng subpoena at mag-cite ng contempt. So sana mapasa ng Kongreso kaagad at ito ang maging dahilan kung bakit manunumbalik yung paniniwala ng tao na mayroong isang ahensya na bago na makakatulong sa pagtugon at pagpapanagot sa mga may kinalaman sa flood controls at anong pang infrastructure scandal or corruption.
And Doc, and looking at also the numbers, no, well, we cannot deny also na I think most of the trust towards the government investigating corruption has to do also with politics. So, nakikita mo ba, Doc, na these numbers fairly may change but very little because we have a Duterte side, we have a Marcos side, and mostly people from the Duterte side will never, no matter anong efforts ng government, will never give a thumbs up of approval in how this government is handling the corruption issue.
Well, pag napakita mo naman na wala kang sinisino at patas ka, hindi naman maaaring punahin ka pa ng kalaban mo. So, sa akin, ang dapat mapakita dito ay pinapanagot nila kahit na sino, walang pinipili, walang pinapakawalan. So, hindi na maaaring gamitin ng mga kritiko mo na ginagawa mo lang yan para maparusahan yung hindi mo mga kaalyado.
So Doc, diretsahin ko na. If President Marcos shows intent on even going after, sabihin na natin, kanyang pinsan, si former Speaker Martin Romualdez, do you think this will then make his trust rating on how to handle corruption jump up higher?
It will not be directly President Marcos, but if the Ombudsman finds a reason to file a case against the Speaker of the House,
Damay
former
lahat.
Speaker of the House, who's the second cousin of the President. So that's a signal that the Ombudsman does not in any way favor any particular group, regardless of their political affiliation or who they are associated with.
Oo. Well, you would also notice yung big percentage ng trust ng tao sa media, no, in
Yeah.
terms of talking about the flood control mess. And we're talking about not just reports but also yung mga detailed investigative reports that are coming out to show the public kung ano ba talaga yung nangyayari in details dito nga sa flood control anomalous projects. And this is actually contrary doon sa naging perception ng media during the Duterte administration.
Perception ng tao sa media.
Oo, di ba? Perception ng tao sa media na, well, to be fair, iba naman yung pinag-uusapan noon, pero ang laki ng trust ngayon, yung turnaround sa media. Why do you think so?
Well, actually, even in the past, during the Duterte administration, pag tinanong mo kung anong kredibilidad ng mga pangunahing mga himpilan, mataas ang kredibilidad nila eh. Ang problema lang noon ay diretsahang inaatake ng administrasyon dati ang ilang mga namamahayag.
Yeah.
Diba?
And then there are mga netizens na nagbabash. Oo.
So
That's true.
the media institutions, media outfits then, and we continue to survey them in terms of credibility, at least the major networks, including the one that lost the franchise, had credibility in the eyes of the public with regard to the reporting of news
Yes.
about politics and government. So this is not surprising. Ang ano lang is that I don't know whether this refers to legacy media or the ones in digital media, some of which are not necessarily legitimate and may be sources of disinformation. But to me, this is a good sign because that means
Yeah.
that people think that media is providing the information that allows them to become continually attentive to issues of corruption involving flood control projects. So sana hindi bitawan ng media. Sana
Yes, that's true. And
magpatuloy
ask hard questions.
Oh, pero Doc, well, it's good to see kasi of course natutuwa kami na appreciated, but ang tanong dito, is this only tied yung pag-angat sa pagbabalik ng loob ng tao sa media tied to the corruption issue, or nagre-recover na talaga as a whole ang media being respected as a source of info?
Well, sabi ko, I think yung media can continue to be is continued to be regarded as credible, even under the Duterte administration. Ang ano lang is that people are much more free to express support for media right now.
Oo,
Yes.
oo.
Yeah,
But I
that's a
don't
good
think
take,
media
yeah.
has lost its credibility. Ang problema lang talaga, yung dati administrasyon, mas merong suppress at saka repressive tendency towards certain elements of media, but not all of media.
Yes.
At ang problema lang doon sa media noon ay merong mga, and it's the worst form of censorship, meron nag-practice ng self-censorship.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I agree with that. Oo, kasi during that time talaga feel free yung mga iba nagbabash ng media, but at the end of the day, during the calamities and of course itong mga
Pandemic,
issue na to, pandemic, media pa rin yung takbuhan when it comes to credible and factual information. Okay, the question now, Doc, is which area, saan po tayo area nakatutok when we did this survey, and ano po yung mga kumbaga age range po ng mga tinanong po
demographic.
natin nitong survey na to?
So, nationally representative yan. We use a multi-stage random sampling. So that means anyone who is 18 years old and above has the same chance of being selected as a respondent. So that means that it is not in any way stratified according to age group. We had 1,200 respondents, the usual survey that we have distributed 300 for each of the sub-national areas. So it covers all age groups, it covers all socioeconomic classes, and education groups depending on education attainment. So across the social demographic characteristics of the adult population in the country.
Okay, so recently po nagkakaroon ng mga balita regarding another cabinet revamp ng Pangulo, do you think kapag nangyari yon, somehow medyo aakyat yung numero ng Pangulo? Or talagang doon lang tayo naka-base doon sa kapag may nahuling big fish, then we can talk again?
Kasi, I don't know how many people are aware of who are in the cabinet.
Completely, yes.
I think it's more important to see what is the government doing that would be improving the quality of my life. And it doesn't matter who's in the cabinet, but if the
That's
government is seen as taking action that will improve the material welfare of every individual Filipino, regardless of who is in the cabinet, whether there are 9 people who will be sacked or whether there are 6 or 3 or anyone, it will be the steps that they will take in order to address major concerns, which to me still remain, except for corruption, remain largely economic.
And Doc, lastly, kasi alam naman natin, for every president at the lame duck stage or the tail end of their presidency, the numbers have a somewhat tradition na bumababa talaga. Now, do we see that already kay PBBM na tuloy-tuloy na ang pagbaba as so with other presidents in the past?
Bumaba siya, Angelo, noong March 2025. The lowest that we saw was 25% approval in March 2025. That was after the arrest of Rodrigo Duterte. Medyo naka-recover na siya ngayon. He's up to 30% right now in terms of approval. But that's still low. That's not the figure that you saw in the case of former President Duterte, former President Noynoy Aquino, or even former President Sada. Almost the same figure that we established during the incumbency of former President Arroyo. Now, will he be a lame duck? Maaaring maging measure ng political capital ng presidente itong approval at trust. But hindi natatanggal yung kapangyarihan niya. At yun ang mahalaga. Kung nagagamitin niya ang kanyang kapangyarihan para maiangat ang kalagayan ng mga Pilipino, di maaari siya makabawi ng kanyang pampolitikang kapital.
All right. With that, thank you very much for your time and insights, Dr. Ronald Holmes, President of Pulse Asia Research. The Philippine National Police Highway Patrol Group said it is searching for 10 more luxury vehicles allegedly linked to former House Appropriations Chair and resigned Ako Bicol Representative Zaldico. Mobile journalist Arles de los Santos has the report.
4 days after 14 vehicles allegedly owned by resigned Congressman Zaldico and companies have been seized in a condominium in Taguig City, the PNP Highway Patrol Group said they are looking to find 10 or more luxury vehicles owned by Co. That is confirmed by HPG Acting Director Police Brigadier General Hansen Marantan, saying they received information that more than 24 vehicles owned by Zaldico are being kept in a condominium building in BGC, Taguig City. It can be recalled that only 14 of them were found last week, where 12 were seized and turned over to ICI as the other 2 could not be driven. Among the seized vehicles were a Ferrari, a GMC Denali, Rolls-Royce, and Cadillac Escalade with an estimated combined cost of 145 million pesos. The PNP also maintained that the operation and confiscation was legal after news that COSCOMP is considering to file a case after the alleged illegal confiscation of the vehicles.
Anong ikakaso nila sa amin? Na kinuha namin yung sasakyan nila, na naka-uniforme kami, nagpaalam kami sa kanila, they granted it, we give them receipts, at sinabi namin, dalhin namin dito sa ICI compound. Is that carnapping?
Yesterday, representatives from the HPG went to the Independent Commission for Infrastructure to conduct macro-etching examination to 4 vehicles linked to CO, but they refused to give further statements. Meanwhile, the Bureau of Customs said it is now checking its system to verify relative information gathered during the implementation. And the next step for the BOC is to prepare a return to the court and inform it of its findings of the search warrant implementation. Still under the ongoing flood control controversy probe, the Office of the Ombudsman reacts to the allegations that the BGC boys or officials of Bulacan 1st District Engineering Office will recant their statements implicating several high-ranking officials to the flood control mess, saying it remains a noise and that Ombudsman will rely on sworn statements but warns that it would affect their admission under Witness Protection Program. Kapatid Arles de los Santos, we are One News.
We'll be back with more stories after the break. Keep it here on One News. Good morning. You're still watching News and Views here on One News. More than 63 super flu cases have been recorded across the country, according to the Health Department. Here's the report.
As the weather turns colder, many people are catching coughs and colds. Health workers in Santa Ana, Manila report an increasing number of flu cases, with Barangay 189 even running out of medicines due to high demand.
Since nung December, bata, matanda, tas lagi rito naubos yung aming paracetamol, tsaka yung sa mga baby, mga drops na ano.
To protect themselves, many residents are wearing face masks. Among them is Lola Presi, who recently recovered from the flu.
Diyos ko, nanghihina yung katawan mo. Tapos, may ubot sipon, ganon. Sabi nila, bakit daw ako nagpe-face mask? Sabi ko, para sa kaligtasan din natin, lalo na kaming mga senior. Oo. Senior kasi, no? Oo, madali nang mahawaan.
Experts note that it is normal for flu cases to increase due to changing weather.
Malaking bagay ang climate change, ang seasonal influenza. Usually talaga tumatama yan doon sa, halimbawa, sa Philippines. It usually starts during the rainy season, no? But December and early part of January, nag-i-extend pa yan ng January hanggang February kasi nga may mga years na malamig pa rin ang later part ng January.
Meanwhile, the so-called super flu is spreading in Europe, the United States, and Canada. However, according to the Department of Health, Filipinos have no reason to be alarmed. From January 1 to December 27 last year, 63 cases of the super flu were recorded in the country, and all patients have already recovered. Experts explain that the super flu is a seasonal type of influenza. Its symptoms are identical to the regular flu, including cough, cold, fever, and muscle pain.
Dapat sana nabakunahan sila, no? Ang pinagpangambahan natin dito, yung talagang may mga comorbidities or vulnerable patients na walang bakuna kasi sila yung triple na pwedeng makakuha ng influenza at pwedeng mag-lead into complications.
Joining us now is Dr. Maricar Limping, pulmonologist, to help us understand the recent rise in flu cases and what should the public watch out for during cold weather. Doc, thank you for joining us.
Hi, Doc. Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Nice to see you, Doc.
Yes, Doc, nice to have you again. And of course, it's glad you're here, no? Para ma-explain natin sa tao yung regarding this recent rise in cases ng super flu. Dami nagsasabi kasi na ang understanding nila, the cold mismo gives you the sickness. Pero can you kindly explain na it's nothing to do with the cold?
Actually, the cold itself, parang it provides the impetus or the start of everything. Kasi if we breathe in cold air, that actually causes some irritation, doon sa respiratory system. But also, the cold itself, it encourages bacterial growth, no? Or the growth of the viruses. So, kaya pag kunyari nandiyan na langhap mo, so that can actually start the infection.
So, kaya seasonal flu because during the cold, mamayagpag to. Doc, super flu ang tawag. Ano ba difference niya sa regular flu?
Well, sa regular flu kasi, ang symptoms mo is very short-limited, no? Very short lang. So usually it will last for only about 5 days, no? It's not going to take a long time. But for this super flu, which is actually a mutation, no, of the influenza A, medyo tumatagal yung symptoms. So most of the patients will actually be coming in with 5 to 7 days of symptoms. So medyo may konting lagnat, but some do not even have the fever. And then yun nga, yung sipon, the cough, and sumasakit ang kanilang mga kasukasuan o kaya yung kalamnan nila, usually at the start, but after some time, ang natitira na lang ay yung colds at saka yung cough. And this cough and colds actually, napansin namin, mas tumatagal pa sa 7 days, no? More than 7 days. So you can see many of our citizens, no, yung mga kapwa Pilipino natin, they will be coming in and a little bit worried kasi talagang nagpa-persist yung cough and colds nila.
Ayun, linawin ko lang, Doc, no? Sabi mo, some of them may present na simple cough and cold na walang fever pero masakit ang body. So, in other words, pwedeng mistaken na ubo sipon.
Yeah, oh, yes, because that is basically yung flu, no? Yung usual flu natin. But ito nga, ang difference is that tumatagal siya. And actually, for many, it creates also a lot of reaction from the body. So, mas namamaga yung daanan ng paghinga. So, nagkakaroon ng inflammation. And that inflammation will even cause more persistence of the cough.
Okay, from what I understood from my interview po kay Dr. Ronjin Solante yesterday, sabi niya po sa akin, since tulad din po na nabanggit nyo kanina, since a mutation po ng influenza, kailangan daw po ng updated na vaccine which is going to be available on Feb or March. So I was wondering, if yung vaccine mo po, hindi yun yung updated, no? Nagpa-flu vaccine ka, will it still help or wala? Walang tulong yung vaccine na yun sa super flu?
Well, actually, sa mga latest na pag-aaral, nakita nila that the vaccine that yung from the last vaccine natin last year, it is still quite effective. It can still help para ma-prevent yung mga mas severe manifestation ng nitong super flu. But of course, the updated vaccine will be of greater efficacy. Mas magiging mataas ang efficacy niya in preventing more severe infections and eventually yung hospitalization ng mga tao.
And can we also look at this way, Doc, na kaya po ngayon na mas maraming nahahawa at nagkakaroon nga nitong influenza because of people's lifestyle na ngayon na mababa yung immune system nila, hindi gaano nakaka-exercise or yung mga kinakain, puro instant.
Galing tayo sa Christmas holidays.
Yes, oo.
Siyempre, nakakatulong kasi yung natural immunity natin. So, on that, yung natural immunity natin, ang isa sa pwedeng maka-apekto niyan ay yung lifestyle na ating, kung ano yung lifestyle na meron tayo. So, that will greatly affect yung natin, yung the ability of the body to fight the infection, no? But ang pinaka talaga niyan para mas makatulong sa atin, para ma-prevent natin ang mga further infection o yung more severe manifestation ng super flu is actually to give ourselves some protection, and the protection will be in the form of vaccine.
Oo.
So, ang question dito, Doc, is when should one go to the hospital? Given na, alam mo naman tayo mga Pinoy, minsan kahit sasagarin mo yung hanggat kaya mo bago ka hospital
Yes, syempre, yung isa sa mga inaano natin ay
Doc?
Hello,
Ayan,
yes.
nawala po kayo.
Go ahead,
Okay,
Doc. We can hear you naman.
Okay.
Sorry.
Go ahead po. No worries.
Yes. Ano nga ang question mo ulit?
Doc, kailan dapat pumunta ang isang may sakit sa hospital?
Oo. Kasi sanay tayo ng mga bata kami, Doc, di ba? Ay, hindi. Gagaling ka din.
Hanggat di ka makalakad, game lang.
Oo.
Yes, pwedeng pag masyadong kasi para doon sa mga pasyente na meron talagang mga underlying disease katulad ng mga hika o kaya COPD o kaya ay may mga sakit sa puso, sila yung mga most likely mas maaapektuhan nitong super flu, no? Maaaring sa mga pasyenteng merong sakit sa puso, pwedeng ito ang maging dahilan ng magkaroon sila ng heart failure. So, pag ikaw ay yung ganitong klase ng tao tapos nagkaroon ka nitong super flu, kailangan pag nag-umpisa ka ng magkaroon ng ubo, lalo na kung medyo tumatagal na, mga 5 days, no? Kailangan magpatingin na ho kayo sa inyong mga doktor. And then, lalong-lalo na kung kayo ay medyo nahihirapan ng huminga, no? This is one of those instances where siguro baka hindi lang sa clinic ng mga doktor, kung hindi pwede na rin kayong pumunta sa ospital mismo, sa emergency room. Kasi dito, yung flu ninyo, yung infection ninyo, is already having an impact doon sa puso na pwedeng mag-lead into heart failure. Doon naman sa mga may hika at saka mga COPD, the ubo, no, maaaring mahirapan silang huminga o kaya parang nagsisikip ang kanilang mga dibdib, no? These are instances wherein hindi lang siguro sa opisina, sa clinic ng mga doktor ninyo, kung di pwede na rin kayong pumunta sa emergency room ng mga ospital.
So yan po yung advice po ninyo para sa mga people with comorbidities no? Pero hindi naman to, kumbaga, since it's flu, hindi naman po siya, this would not lead to or cause to death, di naman.
The flu itself, hindi talaga siya, we do not expect na mamamatay ang mga tao. However, maaaring mamatay ka pa rin kapag ikaw ay nagkaroon nga ng komplikasyon, no? Like yung heart failure, o kaya masyado kang atakihin sa iyong hika o yung COPD mo na mahirapan kang huminga. At itong mahirapan ka huminga ay can actually lead to even na makabit ka, malagyan ka ng tubo at makabit ka sa respirator, no? So, yun yung tinatawag nating lung failure, no? So, pag itong mga ito ang mangyari sa iyo at kung hindi mo na-recognize ng maaga, then that can actually spell death.
So, lastly, Doc, of course, we'd like to ask you to give advice sa mga viewers natin. Pero what I understand is sinasabi mo, if your breathing is different from the ordinary, regardless kung anong pulmonary disease, pumunta ka ng doktor.
Yes, pumunta ka ng doktor kapag nagkakaroon ka na talaga ng nahirapan ka, or sometimes kasi itong mga viral infection ito will also lead to a superimposed bacterial infection. So kapag ang mga ubo, sipon ninyo, may plema kayo na mas kulay yellow, green, you have to see and go and see your doctor. So ang pinaka-importante dito, advice na pwede nating ibigay sa kanila is really to give yourself protection, no? Every year sinasabi namin yan na kailangan you have to take your flu shots, no? At ang every year nagbabago po ang type of strain ng flu na meron ho tayo. That is why yung bakuna na binibigay at the start of the year, which will usually come by March, no, of each year. So yun yung sinasabi ni Dr. Solante, no? So yung mga updated na mga vaccines na meron tayo ngayon will actually come by March of each year, no? So, get yourself vaccinated para ma-prevent natin yung mga severe manifestations of flu. Kahit nga, or the complications of flu. Kasi yan ang mas madalas na nagiging dahilan ng hospitalization ng mga tao, no? If they got flu.
Ayan, very well said. And I guess, Doc, syempre yung ating paalala na mag-mask, di ba? Kung ikaw ay not feeling well, huwag ka na lumabas ng bahay, o kung kailangan mo lumabas, mag-mask ka na rin para rin respeto na rin sa iyong mga makakasalamuha. On that note, maraming salamat po sa inyong oras. As always, Dr. Maricar Limpin, pulmonologist. Maraming salamat po.
All right, rescuers continue searching for workers trapped in the Binaliw landfall following a landslide on January 8th. Here is the report.
11 people have died and 26 remain missing 5 days after a mountain of garbage collapsed at a landfill in Barangay Binaliw, Cebu City. Families of the missing have voiced frustrations over what they describe as slow progress in the rescue operations.
Napakabagal talaga. Napakabagal dahil kasi kita ng view nila na hindi kakayanin ng mga rescuer yun. Sana naman nag-implement sila agad ng initiative na mapabilis. Naghintay sila, nag-deploy sila ng mga disaster team o rescuer dyan. Pero parang walang nagawa. Parang mga puro supervisor lang.
Initially, media personnel and relatives were allowed near the landfill perimeter, but access has since been restricted.
Laging lang hinanap yung ama nila. O, ma, na si Papa, okay na ba si Papa? Wala pag yun nakita. Ang sakit nun. Sa side mo, ikaw hinanap yung ama. Napakasakit. Sana naman, magkaroon sila ng awa na makita man ng body ng asawa ko. Sana buo. Mahal ko yung asawa ko.
Cebu City Mayor Nestor Archival assured the public that rescuers are doing everything possible to locate those still trapped under the debris.
We understand that there are people that are trapped inside that has life. Buhay pa sila. The building is actually a metal building. All of the parts are interconnected to each other. Now, if we want to bring the structure up, certainly they will be in the middle. Sa kuan sila, mapiit sila. If we have the big spark, then it will catch fire.
Archival added that operation will continue as long as there are signs of potential survivors. The mayor also stressed that the tragedy should serve as a wake-up call to tighten permits and inspection for all landfills.
It's really a wake-up call. Ang kaning atong garbage sa ordinance o nga atong 9003, which is the national law, it's in there so long a time. Ang ato lang, wala gini nato matagay o pagtagad.
Archival also expressed support for a planned Senate inquiry into the deadly landslide.
PHIVOX observed early Tuesday morning a short-lived incandescent lava fountain that rose to a height of 100 meters at the summit crater of Mayon volcano. The volcanic activity lasted approximately 35 seconds. Alert level 3 remains in effect over Mayon volcano, and entry into the 6-kilometer permanent danger zone is strictly prohibited. Meanwhile, the Department of Social Welfare and Development said it will provide cash for work activities for evacuees to help them earn money amid the volcano's unrest.
Kasi yung food, yung evacuation centers, no? Kasi hindi na yon basta-basta kasi marami ng tao. Especially ang hygiene sa loob, yung paliguan, yung inumin, at saka siyempre yung pagkain.
Yung cash for work, magkano ibibigay?
435 pesos, di ba? Regional Wage Board yan. Then, titingnan natin. Siguro mag-inisal sila 15 days. Then, pa nag-prolong to, another 15 days.
Don't go away because we're not done yet. Please stay with us. Welcome back. You're still watching News and Views here on One News.
A critical shortage of blood supplies has forced hospitals nationwide to raise Red alerts at the start of the new year. Mobile Journal, Jas Paredes reports.
Hospitals across the country have raised red alerts after declaring an emergency blood crisis due to critically low blood supplies. On January 3, 2026, red lights were switched on at the facade of Tower 1 at Makati Medical Center, signaling an urgent need for blood donors.
We get an average of 20 to 25 blood requests per day. That's for our 600-bed capacity hospital. And not to mention emergency cases, unexpected emergency cases coming in from the ER who will need blood. But on average, we only get 3 or basically 0 to 5 walk-in donors daily.
This is not the first time the hospital has activated its red lights.
Actually, parang third switching on na namin to. That will re-emphasize the need, no? That there's a constant need, no? Yung one-time appeal mo and their one-time donation will only be good for a certain period, no?
On January 4, Asian Hospital and Medical Center also announced that it is under an emergency blood crisis.
Currently, we're trying to make use po of at least 10 stocks of PAC-RBC, which is particularly blood type O and blood type A. So for us to maintain yung day-to-day operations for emergency surgeries and yung mga other important blood transfusion, at least the stock should be at least more than 10 units.
Both alerts were issued during the first week of the new year, an alarming way to start 2026, as blood supply levels have reached a critical point. The institutions say the holiday season greatly affected blood donations.
Malamig ngayon sa atin, so there are people who have respiratory illness, may mga seasonal flu, and of course, for us to be blood donors, kasi we have to be of optimum health. Wala po tayong mga sakit, lagnat, ubo-sipon. Also, on top of that, blood drives po are not really participated during the holidays kasi masyado tayong aligaga sa family, occasion, shopping. So there are fewer blood drives in between the holidays.
An influx of patients is also expected after the holidays, further increasing demand.
So after the holidays, kasi there are patients who would postpone their, for example, their surgery or their treatment. So they come after the holidays. So in anticipation of the influx of patients from the holiday season, so nag-increase yung demand. So actually yun, yung sinabi ko kanina ng 20 to 25 requests for blood on a regular basis, actually this week, nag-hike to 30 to 35.
Hospitals stress that maintaining adequate blood supply at the start of the year is crucial. All blood types are urgently needed, and one blood donation could save up to 3 lives. Interested donors may visit the blood banks of Makati Medical Center and Asian Hospital and Medical Center, open Monday to Sunday. Hotlines are also available for inquiries and scheduling. Donors may also visit the nearest blood bank in their area to donate. Kapatid, Jas Paredes, we are One News.
The International Criminal Court Pretrial Chamber 1 has rejected former President Rodrigo Duterte's bid to appeal a ruling on communications between the court's registry and a panel of medical experts. The decision follows a December 11, 2025 resolution denying Duterte full access to communications with the 3-member panel appointed to examine his medical condition. The defense argued that the chamber had not assessed the materiality of the communications or the risks of non-disclosure. On January 7, the chamber also rejected Duterte's request for an additional expert report on his medical condition.
In other news, the Philippines will send 216 para-athletes to the 13th ASEAN Para Games in Thailand, with multi-time Paralympian Gerald Pete Mangliwan serving as flag bearer. Mobile journalist Denise Valdesancho reports.
The Philippines is set to send 216 para-athletes to the 13th ASEAN Para Games taking place from January 20 to 26 in Nakhon Ratchasima, Thailand. Leading the Philippine delegation in the opening ceremony is multi-time Paralympian wheelchair racer Gerald Pete Mangliwan, named the country's flag bearer. The Filipino contingent, backed by coaches, guides, and team officials, brings the total delegation close to 300 members. Team Philippines will compete in 16 of the 19 sports on the program, with no entries in blind football, wheelchair tennis, and wheelchair shooting.
Maganda yung suporta natin itong past 2 years ng Philippine Sports Commission. Kaya mas kumbaga mas madami tayong athletes na napadala o nasa stable natin o yung mga tinatawag na national training pool. Yan, madami sila.
After finishing 5th overall in the 2023 Cambodia Games, the Philippines is looking to improve its standing.
And at the same time, itong ASEAN din kasi is parang qualifying din para sa Asian sa Paralympics. So, lahat halos ng athletes natin is aiming syempre for the Paralympics. So, they're doing their best, lalo sa training. So, I think they're 101% for this ASEAN.
For Mangliwan, the honor of being flag bearer comes after another strong international campaign, having just competed in the World Championships, where he finished 4th in the 1,500 meters and 5th in the 400 meters.
Kasi hindi ko talaga expect din kasi sa dami din namin tsaka yung mga kasama ko rin naman, kung titignan mo rin naman is talagang mga deserve din naman yung mga nila . So, ayun po, nagulat ako nung malaman ko. Nakakatuwa lang po and then nakaka-proud po.
A 3-time Paralympian, Mangliwan will compete in 3 events, 100, 400, and 800 meters.
Pagpunta ko pa lang dun is talagang medyo nakakataba ng puso na nabigyan ulit or nakakaano ng pagkakataon na nabigyan ka na ulit ng ganyan na moment, to showcase kung ano man yung mga pinaghihirapan mo . So, ayun po.
With a deep lineup and a seasoned leader carrying the flag, Team Philippines opens its ASEAN Para Games campaign, aiming for a stronger finish and a solid start to a new competitive cycle. Kapatid Denise Valdesancho, we are One News.
Congratulations and good luck sa ating mga para-athletes.
We should also support and pay attention because they also bring honor to our country.
Yes, every year that they would go there sa Paralympian, like sila Ernie Gawilan.
Yun, di ba siya sa swimming?
Sa swimming. Sila Arnel Aba. Laging uuwi yan merong place. Or, di ba, talagang nagko-compete sila. So, si Gerald Mangdiwan, yan, taga Trinity yan.
So, ano si Gerald? Anong Gerald?
Yung flag bearer siya
ngayon. Ano yung sport niya ulit?
Yung sa wheelchair, yung pabilisan na.
Racing? Yung racing.
Hindi ko alam kasi yung pinakatawag.
Yung official sport name, oo.
Pero yeah, congratulations and good luck.
Good luck. And of course, prayers for them that they walang untoward incident and tuloy-tuloy lang. Of course, remember, they're also raising the Philippine flag. Yes. All right. It's a gloomy weather ngayon. Yes, it is. Posturang-postura ka. Ay, nako. Anyway, that wraps up today's episode of News and Views.
Join us again tomorrow. I'm Angela Lagunsad Castro.
And I'm Angelo Castro III. Kapatid, we are One News.
All sides, all the time.